Welcome to the Belly Dance Stories podcast, a multimedia production directed by Alexandra Molina and Valerie Molinari.
You will hear inspiring conversations and learn about the ways belly dance has become a powerful channel of transformation in people's lives. Good morning, Val. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, girl.
It's our first podcast since a while, and I know we've both been super busy. Hey, Nico.
Nico suddenly wants to be part of it.
Oh, he has things to say. I love that. So we wanted to just have a casual conversation. We want to catch everybody up about belly dance stories and our recent trip to Egypt, which was amazing. And also really just talk about women and dance circles and privacy and all this wonderful things that you and I have both been experiencing lately, not just in Egypt, but before and now coming back and then in the future and what we have, planned for belly dance stories. So I'm pretty excited to catch up with everybody. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Val, I wrote down some fun questions for us and basically along the lines of women sharing spaces outside of competition, outside of performances and theater, outside of social media, and how that impacts us as people and how that impacts us as belly dancers. And then how that relationship in those situations changes our relationship to dance. Mm-hmm. And I believe that you and I have had many beautiful experiences over the years. And then just more recently, more fresh to our eyes has been Egypt and the tour that you and Shahrazad conducted and that we all went. Do you want to chip in a little bit about that? Go ahead.
For the people that don't know, me and Shahrazad are hosting a ladies' trip at the beginning of the year in January that includes visiting two main cities in Egypt, which are Cairo and Luxor. And a lot of the activities that we have included as part of the tour, first of all, it's a ladies only tour. So only ladies are enjoying themselves for actually 2 weeks, which is actually a lot of time. And we do provide over the tour different dance experiences that are more related to dance as a cultural practice, which I think it's one of the issues when we learn belly dance or whatever name we want to call it nowadays in the US, is that it's really focused on the performative aspect, right? On a solo performance. But a lot of times we as Westerners and foreigner dancers, we forget that this is actually part of a culture that uses this as some type of social, cultural, communal space. And I think with some of the experiences that we have in the tour, like the SAR, like the ladies event, which is the last thing that we do, is that there's this dance studio that hosts only ladies event where everybody's dancing, people get on the stage, people dance in the audience, but all the time the audience is actually participating in the performance, either by clapping or dancing. Some experiences I feel that for us Westerners, and something that I share in my social media from women coming from the context of Miami, that sometimes it's so it obligates us women to be constantly aware about how others are seeing us. And when it comes to dance, we are very focused on the flashiness and the showmanship and creating that wow factor especially in the world of entertainment, where we are constantly trying to satisfy certain audience expectations, we forget about that powerful source of dance just as a communal practice. And I think coming back to Belly and Stories, that has always been the intention when we were guiding dancers to actually dance more their stories as a way of sharing it rather than just being completely focused on technique or your musical knowledge, which I feel is something that happens a lot, right? That the performance, sometimes we want to use it to demonstrate how much we know about either the culture or the dance or the genres. Part of the intention of Belly and Stories was to actually highlight the different voices of our community and the experience of women through dance, right? But every time that I experience these spaces in Egypt, it really shocks me in a very positive way because it reminds me the real reason of why I love to dance and why I love to share it with others. So I feel that's like an aha moment that we all experienced together when we were part of those spaces, and yeah, I feel that there's certain experiences that they cannot be translated to social media.
100%. Yeah. And it's for me, this, experiencing belly dance and experiencing a dance that it's outside of my culture, it's very reflective on me, I think, and many other dancers who do come from a culture, let's say we're Latinas, we come from a culture where dance and music are everywhere. There, it's all the time. We grow up with it. We experience it at parties. And at parties, we're not worried about the technique, the 1, 2, 3 step or anything like that. It's just art is art, and art comes from humans. It's something so old. It's so ancient. So when we are learning about other styles of dance that are outside of our norm, or when we are coming into a country where we're going to go and experience the culture, I think that a lot of us sometimes forget, especially because we're very used to the digital life. We forget that this is something that we've always done, and that there is a magic and there is a very important way of communicating this language with other people when you are dancing, when you're singing, when you're listening to music, when you're watching productions on a stage. And so when it comes to Belly Dance Stories, you and I have both always been on the same page of how when we try and express, okay, ladies, give us, share with us your stories and dance your stories. We really try at least to, and we're always getting better at this, right? We're always getting better at trying to help guide the dancer and the student to remember why they started dancing in the first place, and to forget technique for a moment, to forget all of the intellectual components of learning from something new, and then just expressing it. It's the same thing as grammar. It's the same thing as learning a verbal language. Many times they say when you want to learn a new language, start by just the colloquial interaction between another person. Don't worry about, am I saying this right? Or am I what is it? Making the conjunctions, proper, and all those flashy things that we, at the end of the day, don't need. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, everything is just about the connection with another person, and that's what matters the most. So coming into the space or the trip of going to Egypt was very... It's very loaded, that question, right? But in terms of the relationships with people, we were really able to immerse ourselves thanks to you guys and all of the tour guides and all of the people around us, we were able to excuse me, we were able to really ask them questions, see them. They saw us. We were able to dance with them. We were to eat with them. If we could sing along with them, we would sing along with them, but we don't know the language that well, but we still vibed with them. And this is one of the very important things about learning another language, because it is also a reflection of yourself and how you interact as a person with other people. So the value of those quieter moments in life is beyond impactful for anyone, not just belly dancers.
I also wanted to mention, following the line that you were saying, it's like we also forget about the space of intimacy that it's created through dance too. Dance as a intimate space where you also can have very deep conversations with yourself, which is something that we try to encourage with Belly and Stories, but also the intimacy that bodies create when they are interacting and dancing together. So one experience that Shani said that I loved it, that when we were in this ladies' party, she was dancing with all of them, and we can't communicate. There's a huge language barrier, right? But somehow energetically, we were like really vibing, right, with our bodies, the movement, the dancing, and it felt so rich. But then at some point, some of the Egyptian ladies asked Shani to go and have a cigarette with them. And like that moment, I felt I was part of the club at that time, right? And I feel those spaces are very precious, especially between women. There's this special communication and this understanding that we have of each other's struggles. And now that I have a baby, right, coming back to that body language, anytime I'm with a baby outside and I see a woman walking, I know who's a mother and who isn't a mother. Like, mothers have this way of like, I'm seeing you feeding your baby, and I do a little, guiñadita, because I know what you're going to, and there's this, I don't know, special relationship between bodies. And I think dance is such a powerful tool of communication, right? Of understanding beyond words.
Yes, because when we dance with each other, we're making eye contact.
Yes.
And so many of us these days are not making eye contact. So whenever any dancer talks about dancing together outside of the space of an audience or a theater, yes, sometimes we're making eye contact at theater shows and restaurant shows, but it's not always, it's not the same. It's not always that two-way street for a long period of time. But when you are in a ladies setting, or you are really dancing with somebody else, that eye contact is something that at first, if you're not used to it, you have to really sit there and reflect on that and just kind of shake through that. And then it becomes easier, especially when that other person is trying to communicate that way. But one of the hardest languages is that eye contact language. And then at the same time, reflecting your body and your dance movements with them. But it is one of the most rewarding experiences that you can get through. So yeah, it's funny because, like you said, we had that big language barrier, but it was only like one part of the language barrier, because we could still dance with them. And we still, like you understand, had an understanding of the femininity between each other. So there was a language barrier in terms of like Arabic, but there wasn't a language barrier in terms of dance and body.
Yeah, I also, with the gays thing, for us also as gig dancers, right? When we're in the world of entertainment, the gaze and the eye kind of is more like a negotiation that you have with the audience. Like I'm really trying to please you visually, right? So
Yes.
when you are looking at people, you're just looking at them to, it's your duty to make them feel happy, right? So it doesn't have the same level of honesty than when you are socially and like dancing just on your own. Uh,
Yes.
context really changes everything when it comes to our approach to dance.
Yes. And especially because most of the time, I want to say 90% of the time when you are gigging, you are bringing your personality and your energy outwards. Whereas when you're dancing together with someone, it's a constant reciprocation back and forth, and there's no real percentage there. It's a big difference. And in terms of where you're putting your energy and where you're putting your attention. And like you said, it's not the most honest, but one is a job and one is a real interaction experience between human beings, right? I mean, that is kind of that's a little cold to say that one is just a job, but it's a little bit more than that. But still, there are different levels, and I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from the Egypt trip that a lot of us had was the those private moments and the intimacy between our conversations and all of the experiences. And a ladies' trip makes a big difference. There is something very special about just being on a ladies' trip, partially because of all the things we just talked about, but it gives us it gives us just a different perspective on life and of how to go about experiencing life around us through giggles, through laughter, through, side conversations, and then and all of those good things that come from that. And then how does that impact us as belly dancers? Like when we go on stage, how do these experiences, and this is a question that I'm going to ask you, since you have been hosting these tours with Shahrazad, and how do you think this has been impacting the dancers and when they go and do their work or when they do their creative work on stage, in class, etc., and all these other spaces?
I think one of the reasons why we and Sherazad we love to do it is because I think a lot of dancers really need to evaluate their relationship with the culture, and that means their relationship to people of the culture. And one thing is to, when we talk, oh, the Egyptians, they like this, they like, we're so general when we use these national terms too, but it's not the same thing when you learn their names, when you go to their house and you actually humanize them. And for me, that it's something very, very, very important. It's that obviously we're very far away when it comes to culture, and we talk about the language. Like Egypt, it takes us an entire full day to get there. And even though we do in the States have a huge Arab diaspora community, right? It's not the same when you're there, when you're smelling the same air, when you are actually visiting, when you're actually walking on the streets, that you understand, okay, this is where this music came from, these are the struggles of the people, now this is why they express their pain, struggles, love in this way. It's totally different. The way I feel it changes belly dancers, I think it's incredible. I remember the first time that I went to a cabaret that I actually had the opportunity to kind of like being on that shabby context. I felt like, you know what, I don't want to dance this. Like it didn't feel that what I was doing was actually authentic. to their, not their struggles, their reality, right? And I think the tour, when it comes to the experience that we want to give people about Egypt, also is to get a more intimate relationship with women over there. So a lot of our activities and even the instructors that we pick, they're also ladies. And to use dance also as, like I mentioned, like an intimate space where there could be very powerful conversations that you could have with women from there. And then you realize, oh, wow, you know, our realities are not that different, right? We women in every context have the same struggles, and yeah, we're not necessarily that different. And I think that for I'm gonna talk in my case now that I came back, that I'm preparing actually with a for River City Rocks performing a song. Uh, I'm really doing it more like a tribute to those women. Like it just gives me a better. It's a reality check. It's a reality check of who I am, me as an outsider, how I can be a better guest of the culture, and how I can continue, amplifying those voices through my work, and this is what always Simon says to us and to everybody, always give back to the culture. And sometimes we don't even know how that looks. And I really think that the tour offers a way in which you can give back to the culture by learning from the culture, by supporting the culture, by interacting in the same context of the culture. And I think that it's very important because it's without that element, honestly, it's not Raksharki or Raksbeledi. It's not. And when we come to the dynamic about the terminology, you kind of like understand why belly dance as a name could be very problematic for a lot of people, especially for them, because it doesn't really have any reference of a place. It's way too general. Some people call it, like even Amani, she was mentioning, vulgar. And I feel those realities are important for dancers to be also politically aware about how that terminology plays, and yeah, I think that's important for dancers to be conscious about it, so their work can be culturally sensible too. And after watching
Yes.
Benito in the Super Bowl yesterday,
Jesus. Here we go.
here we go. Authenticity
Yeah.
is so important. Authenticity, we tend to kind of like want to bring everything to a general audience all the time, and we try to eliminate certain things because we don't think that are going to be digestible. But I think we're living in a different reality nowadays where authenticity, it's really important.
Yeah. And the honesty as well, about your experiences, and then how far you go with that honesty, and that it does not turn into a fantasy, because you can start off with honesty, but then we have to be very careful as to not go as far as to bring reword or rewrite that story of honesty into a fantasy, which is what a lot of people tend to do, and they romanticize about it. So that's why continuing to visit or continuing to be a part of the culture, even if you cannot visit overseas, see where the Arab diaspora is in your town, it's very important. And also to continue to learn, and to learn from dancers and artists from the areas. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wanted to touch base again on how you are paying tribute to in your performances, and how, from the original question of how you see other dancers, and you as well, I mean, anybody, after they come from one of these types of tours with you guys and how they transform themselves and with that information into their performances or their work or whatever it is, because I know that though the performing is one thing, but then since I'm also a teacher, for example, in my case, I do teach a lot more and I teach kids to adults, but I've noticed, and I knew this would happen, that once I go back into the studio setting, my quote, quote, tributes are there in terms of a teacher, in terms of sharing what happened, what I experienced, but being honest about that and not pushing it too far until it becomes something that's not the reality, And I think that it does also tie into another conversation that you mentioned to me the other day about being cautious in how we share these experiences on social medias. And so if you want to add a little bit more about humanizing versus dehumanizing versus in social media platforms, do you have anything on your mind that you want to say about that? I feel like you do.
For us, in the United States, there's a tendency to create these fantasies about other cultures, and like even the same pop culture incentivates that. We're talking about even Hollywood, about the creation of stereotypes. And the problem with that is that it's really harmful for everyday interactions, because what tends to happen is that people have judgments of people without even getting to know them, because they already have a stereotype in their head about how they are or how they think. And for us, that we kind of like are cultural ambassadors without probably the intention, you do have to be very careful, especially as teachers, of how are you sharing certain type of information and how are you receiving certain type of information also from native people and native dancers, and sometimes we have to kind of like sit down and listen, absorb the information and not react or overreact. I think that it's very important. And dance should provide a safe space for us to have uncomfortable conversations too, and uncomfortable realities. I think the fantasy, especially in the belly dance world, it's very common.
It's hard to escape.
It's hard to escape Orientalism. Even as a gig dancer, you still need to do the sword act. So that's something that you are constantly like negotiating, right? Like, how do I do the sword act in a way that, it doesn't really feel too Disney, right? A little bit too fantasy. So with the social media, I think it's a double-edged sword, because with the social media, what happens too is that depending on the channel of communication that you're using, you cannot get to the level of complexity. You cannot educate somebody through a reel or just a paragraph. Educating, it's hard. Like, there's a lot of things that it requires a huge effort. It's difficult to educate, and even more difficult to re-educate, right? When you really want to educate about what is wrong about the perception that you have about certain culture, and people already have a systems of beliefs or values or certain realities, even more difficult. And there's things that I feel when you discuss them in the social media, it just gets way too wild very quickly, because social media, yes, has a way to also dehumanize people in the way that people can make severe judgments for somebody just by a post or by what they say. And sometimes I evaluate and I see how people use their social media, and there's sometimes a huge contrast with who they are in the real life. Like somebody that may look or feel like a bully online, then in real life it's totally opposite. And you understand what I'm trying to say? Like those
Absolutely.
realities are very contrasting. And yeah, I think a lot of animosity it's created in the social media because the same social media is not really the best tool for socializing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us have already noticed that.
Yeah.
And everybody has been shifting over to in person, shifting back to the other spectrum. It's not a new topic. We're not talking about anything new, but it is very challenging, especially when we're talking about the term educate and learning. That is impossible to do on that type of platform. The only ways that we can really learn about something is to take time, months, years, either in a college setting, some sort of, setting where you are learning from a teacher who has all of this experiences, in time and degrees, or you really go and immerse yourself in a culture and you really go and stay in that country for a long time and you put yourself in more of a learning environment in conversation. Oh my gosh. So we took a tiny little break and Nila is going to be with us. Oh. So we were talking about the value of human interactions, in-person interactions, and how with Belly Dance Stories, we aim to do that anyway with our shimmy socials. And this next one, I'm really excited for this next one actually, because from the experience of the ladies' party that we had in Egypt, I knew about those. I know that Shahrazad has mentioned them before and other dancers, and you've talked to me about them. But to actually experience a ladies only party where there was no phones allowed and no video and no recording was beautiful and perfect and exactly what more people need in this life. And I think that for this next one, when we have Ariel in town at the end of February or March 1st, I'm going to see if we can try and have it as a no cell phones zone, Val. Let's see how that works out. It's going to be interesting to that into a Miami,
Yeah.
the
There's
culture here.
something very special about, especially nowadays, of people really putting their phone away. We are going now to concerts and people are just recording everything. Like the value about being present and not being obsessed with recording freaking everything, it's I think it's important for us, especially in the world of arts. It's like we have become way too obsessed to be recording to the camera, uh, which I get it. It's a way also to socialize in a sense. But a lot of what we experienced in that ladies' event in Egypt was how privacy can provide such a healthy, safe space just to be. And we're too obsessed with the phone all the time.
Yes, I think actually there's a few things that went through my head as you were talking. One of them was the obsession of people filming. either other dancers or other things that are happening. And I feel that that is some sort of avoidant psychological reaction of a real interaction.
Totally.
And we want to, connect with someone. But the first initial reaction to connect with somebody is to get the phone out and to tell them how much we approve, whatever they're doing, like
Yes.
by doing this. Like, I
Yes.
approve, I love it, I love it. And look,
I
I'm
love it.
filming.
I record it.
I recorded, but that's not honest. It's
Yeah.
not as honest as you can really get to. And right, Neela? It's not honest, girl. Oh my God.
Burp for the camera. But
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
And so,
And
yeah.
it's hard. I feel like with the online stuff and coming back to privacy, there's certain things that we are so obsessed with broadcasting everything to. And in that communal space of dance, it's incredible also how dance, when we think about TikTok, right? Like how dance now became like a trend, right? Like people now learn dances to put them online, which is not something that we used to do before. So let's say in a positive way, now people are dancing more in the way that, before you wouldn't see a man learning a dance and putting a video of him
Yes.
online. That was not something. Now you see everybody doing it, and I love that. Um, but it feels more like a duty of me trying to keep updated with the trend. And I used to do these burlesque pajama parties that Kayla mentioned. My burlesque pajama parties, people were coming in lingerie, and I, 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 I didn't let anybody record it because a lot of people were doing striptease performances, so we didn't allow anybody to record it. Anyway, with the type of topic that I had in the burlesque pajama party, with the no recording, the wilder the party was getting because the ladies felt really comfortable with being wild and sexy, right? And they were very powerful. They were super powerful activities. So I think for us to experience that together as producers and then realize that there's something really powerful also about having a ladies party and like putting the phones away really creates a very valuable social space that it's important to keep it.
Absolutely. And I do feel that whenever we do go into that safe mode of filming everything, there's no room for self reflection and soaking up the experience. And there's no room for communication or connection with anybody. So it really harms us. It really, really does. And yes, I love just putting my phone away. Like sometimes there's moments where yes, we need to record, but if it's for your work, if it's for your job, it's a different story than doing it for like a memory preservation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And there has to be some level of mindfulness of when and where you should quickly take the phone out, press play, and then okay, I got this. I don't need any more. I don't need 20 videos of the same thing. I just need that one experience. I'm going to self-reflect on it later to remind me.
Yes.
And then I can share that somehow along the ways. But if you're there recording, you're thinking about, how am I recording? Oh, the lighting. Oh, are they in frame? Oh my God, it's terrible. Yes. It's terrible. It's so sad.
It's a distraction. And I think what you mentioned right now about self-reflection is really important because that's how you actually know the impact of what you're watching or what you're experiencing is having in you.
Exactly.
And through the phone, sometimes, like I remember the last concert that I went, I was like impressed with how much people recorded the entire 2 hours and a half.
I don't understand that.
I'm like, you have the artist live giving you a freaking show and you're watching it through the phone, because that's the thing. To record, you have to pay attention to the phone. So you really start being like completely absent of
I
the
don't understand
I
that
don't
exactly. You're
understand.
not really there, in other
You're
words.
not really there. You're not really there. And
No.
yeah, I think it's crazy, and there should be like some serious changes. So that's why the next TV social, the phones are away when people are interacting. No
We will
excuses
have,
that
yeah,
you're
exactly.
recording for you not to participate in the jam.
Exactly. And let's talk really quick about the Shimmy Social this time because we're changing things up a little bit. Ariel is coming from Cairo again this year. We're very excited. We are co-hosting her 2 workshops, Saturday and Sunday. Malaya left on one and then Malaya left and Shabi on Sunday and then Samba Belly Dance Fusion on Saturday. But on Sunday, March 1st, is when we're going to do our Shimmy Social. And the difference this time is that we're going to do a 30-minute interview with her live. So whoever attends, you guys are going to be the live audience. Everything is recorded, so you don't have to put your phones out. And then
Exactly. There's no need to record it.
You're going to have it later.
Record it or re-record it.
Take a picture and that's it. But and then afterwards we're gonna close all of that and then have a ladies only basically a belly dance party as tribute to the ladies party that we had in Egypt. So we have a few guest artists performing, but in between that we have an open stage, which we already have like 3-4 participants that already signed up for the open stage. And if anybody wants to perform, you just bring your costume, or even if you just want to hang out in your belly dance costume and not perform, just bring it and dance. Mm-hmm. And just enjoy the whole, time. And that is the difference this time of the Shimmy Social. Usually we do a belly dance class, Valerie and I, where we help people interact with a few networking questions. Mm-hmm. But this time around, we're just switching things up a little bit. Do you want to add anything else about the Shimmy Social for this round?
No, they're amazing. You guys should definitely try it. There's a networking activities that we provide for people to get to know each other. I think it's important the story that Ariel is going to be sharing with us as somebody that has been living in Egypt for 6 years, and she do a lot of ladies events too. And Ariel's workshops, she's an incredible instructor. The belly samba, for those dancers that are interested in the performing and gigging, this is a solid workshop for you guys. Like, seriously. There's a lot of entertainment companies that are looking for a belly dance show for that hora loca. This is the type of movement that you can integrate and to spice up your performances. And the Melaya and Shabi, I think that Melaya is a great prop, that it's really related to Egyptian culture in specific. And the fact that she's doing it with Shabi, it's also a great way for you to also do a tribute and keep highlighting the culture in your performances and in your study.
Yeah, this event is going to be very exciting. It's very lively. Ariel has amazing energy, and her teaching style is really fun. And all of the information is going to be really cool. The whole weekend is going to be great. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Val, and everybody else, I got all of the goodie bags for those who are purchasing the full weekend pass. I have a lot of it here. I don't want to show you because it's still in the boxes, but I'm excited to pack all of the goodie bags for you guys. There's so many really cute things. And I I have a surprise for Val. I didn't even there's something very special and this one little detail. I can't tell you. It has to do with writing letters. That's all I can say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a good reason for you guys to register for the full weekend so you guys can get those surprises too.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. Now, before we end our conversation, I did want to catch up a little bit on what's closer to us now. It's February 9th today. Val, you have a class coming up called Movement and Muses or Muse.
Muses.
Okay, can you share?
Yes. Wednesday, February 18th is a 1.5 hour class where we are going to be using visualization, writing, and movement meditation to connect with our muses, right? Sometimes I feel it's the beginning of the year, we get invited or we want to participate in all these events. Sometimes we feel like we are either lacking inspiration or we are way too loaded with inspiration, right? So this is a space for you to listen to those muses, because not all the time we're feeling the same muses. Sometimes our muse can be a little bit more earthy, a little bit more ballady. Sometimes we're feeling a little bit like, you know what's curious? That for me, from the trip, I felt very inspired to do something more modern. So I'm really working with my modern dance muse, fusion it with Sharky. And it's a space for you to kind of like reconnect on what your body is feeling inspired by, and to have a little moment to sketch it and organize it so then you can fly with your ideas. So that it's February 18th. It's this Wednesday, not the next one. It's going to be online, so you can set up your space. If you want to have a glass of wine, you can do it also. And it's 1.5 hours for you to connect with your creative self.
Perfect. I do get a lot of questions, I don't know about you, about people asking us how to take classes with Belly Dance Stories. And I just want to answer that here on this podcast episode because Valerique and I obviously we have Belly Dance Stories and we host a lot of workshops or labs that have to do with dance and storytelling, but individually, Val and I do host our own classes that somehow just end up vibing the similar ways anyway, but we're just from our own separate companies, Val's and then mine, where I teach my newest, how I'm titling my classes, Studio Nora. And so you can reach out to us separately because we both have weekly classes happening in Miami. Sometimes it's online. I teach hybrid, so I'm online and in person at the same time. Val teaches in person, and sometimes she has her pop-up classes virtually, and Movement and Muses is one of them. But for Belly Dance Stories, this year, we're going to do our Belly Dance Stories lab again in the fall. And TBD, we are still, I know a lot of you have asked about theater shows. We are still in the works. There are still some things that we need to pass through first. But on the back burner, we do have our next theater show that we do have. So know that you can reach out to us separately too. Yes. And then I do want to hint off the topic of muses, which is something that a lot of us that I hear a lot recently in and out of each circle of friends and people that I work with. But I have a friend of mine who is an artist, and she is a very well-rounded creative person. Her name is Sophia, and she invited me to be a belly dance model for a figure drawing event that she hosts every month. And the one in the spring is called Les Femmes Vitales. And I'm going to be the belly dance model for this live drawing experience, but it's going to be toward the end of March. And hopefully we can get her to one of our Belly Dance Stories conversations because she has a lot of work under her belt in terms of working with women, with creative people, creative spaces, collaborations. She is someone that is working very hard in the art industry. And I've known her for a while. She dances. She's a poet. She's a model. She's all sorts of things. So look out for that, guys. Val and I might have her on for a little interview at some point soon, I hope.
I'm excited.
I'm really excited about that too. I'm excited about this whole spring. There's a lot happening. But for now, I think that is it for our announcements. This conversation was loaded anyway.
Or coming back.
We're coming back as much as we can. And if anybody has questions, if anybody has comments, come see us at the Shimmy Social. We will have Ariel's classes recorded and also streamed on Zoom. So if anybody from out of town wants to take her workshops, you can. And then our interview with her will be up later after the weekend, after we record it and everything. And that's it, Val. I think we had a really good conversation today.
Good, lovely conversation, my girl. I always love to do this with you.
Oh, likewise. We always come up with some fun stuff.
Deep, too deep.
Sometimes super deep, and then sometimes Bad Bunny, themed. Which after we log off, we're going to talk about that, okay? That's a private conversation for us. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.